Arletha Hopkins was a devoted wife, mother, and Christian woman. She was married to Anthony Hopkins, who was a traveling evangelist leading church revivals. Altogether, the two had 7 children in the household. They shared 5 children together, and Arletha had 2 daughters from a previous marriage with her first husband, but Anthony accepted and took care of his stepdaughters like they were his own. Arletha was very proud of her husband for doing God's work, especially when he was offered a pastor job at a church in Jackson, Alabama. Anthony had become pretty popular by preaching on weekends and sometimes during the week, and he would still travel and preach at local churches. As Anthony's career grew more and more within his new position, the couple created a gospel singing group that consisted of their children, and they would also travel to different churches to perform their gospel music. In 2004, Arletha was pregnant with the couple's 8th child. It seemed like everything was going so well for this family. I mean, from the outside looking in, it just seemed like they were the perfect family, living the perfect American Christian dream. After Arletha gave birth in December of 2004, Anthony delivered some devastating news one Sunday in front of the entire church. He announced that Arletha had passed away after giving birth, and he told everyone that she had been buried in the state of Georgia. Now, even though this news was very sad and it was very unbelievable for everyone, they were still so amazed at how well Anthony was doing with raising 8 kids. He was still preaching, he was still travel and preach, and he was still helping the kids with their gospel group. And he did all of this while being a single father. So that was very impressive to a lot of people at how well he was handling it after his wife passed away. Chantel was Arletha's oldest daughter. She was 16 at the time of Arletha's passing. She pretty much stepped up and helped her stepdad take care of her siblings. She did everything her mom would do. She cooked for them, helped them get ready for school, helped them with their homework, helped them get ready for bed. So Chantel was pretty much a big help after the passing of Arletha. So like I said, from the outside looking in, it just looked like this family had it together before and after the passing of Arletha. Because before Arletha passed away, they just seemed like the perfect, just the cutest family. And then after the passing of Arletha, it just seemed like they held everything together. But little did everyone know, this family had a bunch of family secrets, and they were getting ready to be revealed within the next couple of years. By July of 2008, Chantel was now 19 years old. And at this time, she had gotten into an argument with her stepdad about a boy calling the house for her. Chantel didn't appreciate how her dad handled the phone conversation, and it led to a big argument. Now, I'm not sure exactly how the argument went, but I know it was big enough for Chantel to leave the house. And Chantel left the house on foot, and one of the neighbors seen Chantel and stopped her. Chantel admitted to the neighbor that her and her dad had gotten into a big argument over a boy. And of course, the neighbor was just thinking that this was normal teenage behavior that comes along with a parent, especially a parent that's a pastor. But the neighbor was caught off guard when Chantel revealed that she was pregnant. And she was pregnant by her stepfather. Yes, that's right, the preacher. The neighbor had convinced Chantel that she needed to either tell the police or she needed to tell another pastor. At first, Chantel hesitated because she was always taught to never go against her mother or her father because it was a sin. But eventually, Chantel did confess all of this to another pastor. And at first, the pastor did not believe a word that was coming out of Chantel's mouth. He had known Anthony for over 15 years, and he just could not imagine Anthony doing something like this. But once Chantel convinced them that she was not lying, they went to the police and Chantel exposed every family secret that she had been holding in for years. She told the police that she had been having sex with her stepfather since she was about 11 or 12 years old. At the time, Chantel did not know that she was being raped. She thought it was fine because Anthony told her that it was okay for him to have sex with his daughter because it was simply in the Bible. It's unclear if Chantel tried to tell her mom about the sexual abuse beforehand, but eventually Arletha seen it with her own eyes. She walked into a church bathroom and saw Anthony touching on Chantel. This led to a heated argument between Arletha and Anthony vowed that it was a mistake and he would never, ever do it again. They actually started counseling to try to help him get over whatever fetish he had with underage girls. But eventually, Anthony broke that vow and continued having sex with Chantel. The police officers were still on the defense side about Chantel's story because they didn't know if she was just mad at her stepdad and trying to get him in trouble or if she was just genuinely telling the truth. Police started asking questions about her mother, and that's when Chantel told them that Anthony killed her mother and stuffed her mother's body in a freezer, and the freezer was still at their house. So after hearing this crazy, bizarre story, the police officers decided to do some digging. And they learned that Anthony was giving out different stories to different people about what really happened to his wife, Arletha. He told some people that she died giving birth and was buried in Georgia. He told other people that she moved to California to do some acting. And when her family would try to call for her, he would answer the phone and simply tell them that she was not available. And from what I read, eventually her family members gave up trying to contact her because they just thought she didn't want to be bothered with them. On July 28th, 2008, Chantel had let the police officers into her home and led them to a utility closet where they found a freezer with Arletha's body in it. Police officers could not believe Chantel was telling the truth about everything, but their investigation had officially begun. Chantel told investigators that in December of 2004, just a few weeks after Arletha gave birth to her 8th child, her and Anthony got into an argument because Anthony was still sleeping with Chantel. Arletha kicked Anthony out of the house and told him that he could not come back. Finally, I guess she said enough is enough and she gave up on him. Good job, because I feel like she should have did that in the first place. Anyways, I'm breaking character. Anyways, Anthony knocked on Chantel's window later that evening, and Chantel did let him in the house. But I'm sure she had no idea what was about to take place. But once Arletha heard Anthony in Chantel's room, another fight broke out between Anthony and Arletha, in which he strangled her to death and killed her. Anthony had Chantel help him bury Arletha's body an hour away from their home. And then a few days later, he had Chantel help him dig Arletha's body back up and bring it back to their home where Anthony placed Arletha's body in their family's freezer. Chantel told investigators that Anthony had to constantly jump on Arletha's body to make it fit in the freezer. After discovering Arletha's body, investigators tracked Anthony down to a church in Jackson, Alabama, where he was preaching in front of a large crowd. Anthony was arrested in front of this same crowd, and he was hit with multiple charges. After doing a DNA test, Anthony was indeed the father of Chantel's baby. Investigators also did a search of the home, and they found a diary that belonged to Arletha's second oldest daughter, so the daughter under Chantel. and it was confirmed that he was sleeping with her as well. Anthony's trial began in April of 2010, and he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison plus an extra 51 years. Honestly, that sick individual deserves life in hell, an eternity in hell. That's what he deserves. But I guess life in prison will do for now. Rest in peace to Arletha, and I hope and pray that all 8 of her kids are somewhere doing well, because I cannot even begin to describe the pain and the sorrow that I feel for each and every one of those kids, especially Chantel, and especially the second oldest daughter. Whew, this was a hard case. Y'all go ahead and comment and let me know how y'all feel about this case.